On the 20th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 20 pairs of socks. Welcome to the Wild Review on the Wild Review, and welcome to day 20 of 25 Wild Christmas Review Days. Only 5 more days left, everybody, until the big man comes. The cartoon specials. You wouldn't believe how many times I forgot to say that after the intro. So since the very beginning, we have been talking about children's television. We've been talking about a lot of Christmas specials that were on Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, some that you may have grown up with. I grew up with a few of them. But now we're going to get a little older. We're gonna become big boys. We're gonna become full-grown adults today, because today starts the final batch of Christmas specials we'll be talking about, which are animated adult Christmas specials. So we're gonna talk about some shows that, for the most part, you can find just about all of these shows on Adult Swim, but a good amount of them originate from Fox. Like I hinted yesterday, though, we're gonna have to bend the rules a little bit, or let me do that again. Bend the rules a little bit. These shows are very different from the shows we've talked about, not even in the sense of who they're aimed for, but like I may have mentioned, you'll typically have just one Christmas special per show. Sometimes you'll get 2 or even 3, but with a lot of the shows we're gonna talk about, they have a bunch of Christmas specials. So today we are talking about The Simpsons. I guess I just won't hide that from you anymore. And The Simpsons, which has been going on for just about 30 years now. It's actually going to be 40 in the next couple of years. Only 5 years away, actually. A show like The Simpsons will have a Christmas special almost in every season. They definitely have more than 10. And the same thing goes with shows like Family Guy and Bob's Burgers and American Dad, which we are also going to talk about somewhere down the line. But it is not practical, nor is it logical, nor do I want to spend a large amount of time here talking about all those Christmas specials. I especially feel like with The Simpsons, we'd be here for probably an hour. Well, you would probably be here for an hour. I'd probably be here for maybe 3 hours, because I have to film all of this and do multiple takes, because sometimes I flub up my words. So here's how we're doing things with the adult shows. And I may have already established this rule, so maybe you already know what I'm going to say. But what I'm going to do with these shows, like The Simpsons, is I'm choosing 3 Christmas specials, and I'm talking about just those 3. This is only if these shows have a large amount of Christmas specials. One of them only has 3, so I'll be able to talk about 3, but I'm just talking about 3 specials. Only 3 of them. We're not spending so much time here. And I know you're probably thinking, wait, you technically talked about 5 when you talked about SpongeBob. And to that I say, go to bed. I feel like that's the best compromise I could do. So going forward, just going to be talking about 3 Christmas specials. Either they will be personal favorites of mine, which for a vast majority of them, they're most likely going to be my favorites. Or they're going to be Christmas specials that I have seen the most, and I just want to talk about them because they've left an impression on my brain. One of those episodes is a Simpsons episode, so we'll get to that one. But that's what's going to happen. So just to clarify one more time, not talking about every Christmas special The Simpsons has. I've just picked 3, and we're sticking with those 3. Let's get into it! The Simpsons is an animated series that's been running since 1989, making it one of the longest-running animated series on television. The show airs on Fox, but started off as little animated shorts on The Tracy Ullman Show in 1987. The show is also owned by Disney now, so classify it as a Disney show if you'd like to. That makes it the 3rd Disney show I've talked about. Are you happy? The series follows the lives of the Simpsons family, living in the town of Springfield. And that's the best way I can describe The Simpsons. I mean, that's literally what the show is about. It's about The Simpsons. In 1989, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire aired, not only as the first Simpsons Christmas special, but also as the first full-length episode of the series. The special follows Homer forced to become a mall Santa to get some extra money for the family after he doesn't get his Christmas bonus at work, and after Marge has to use all the Christmas savings to remove a tattoo Bart decided to get behind her back. Then, in 2000, Skinner's Sense of Snow aired and saw all the students at Springfield Elementary getting snowed in with Principal Skinner after a massive snowstorm blows through Springfield. The kids are eager to leave school for the holiday break, but Skinner is determined to keep them in order. Meanwhile, Homer and Flanders journey to rescue the kids. Finally, in 2011, Holidays of Future Past premiered and showed the life of the Simpsons 30 years into the future. Bart and Lisa are parents of their own now and both feel they are struggling in different ways, with Bart being a deadbeat dad to his kids and Lisa having trouble getting through to her daughter. Maggie also is in the process of giving birth. I remember being really little and watching The Simpsons along with my dad. I remember just being a toddler and we would be sitting on the floor because he would either be folding clothes or, I don't know, maybe just sitting on the floor, and I'd be sitting next to him and we would watch The Simpsons together. Of course, at the time I didn't know it was The Simpsons. I didn't know that was the name of the show, but I just recalled watching a show with yellow people. One episode in particular that I remember watching is the one where they discover why Homer's dumb, and it's because he used to he used to eat crayons, or he used to stick crayons up his nose, and that caused him to become dumb. As I got older, I had a huge appreciation for The Simpsons, just for being the longest running animated series on television at the time. One of my absolute favorite things about The Simpsons, which I feel like I'm not the only one that loves this, are the couch gags at the very beginning. I thought they were very creative. I used to keep track of what couch gag belonged to which episode. I just got very inspired by the idea that there was a running gag at the beginning of every episode that was always different. In fact, I own one of the Simpsons seasons. It's like one of the earliest seasons on DVD, just because I wanted to own a collection of certain couch gags that I really liked. Also, there was a season 7 episode that I really liked that I just wanted to own. But I like The Simpsons. I don't watch it anymore, obviously. It's actually been a very long time since I've seen a brand new Simpsons episode. I used to watch it a lot, but I want to say maybe somewhere in 2011 I stopped watching it. I think the last episode that I watched live ever was the Lego episode. And I don't remember if that came before or after the Family Guy crossover that they did, but it was one of those two. And I know the crossover was actually a Family Guy episode, so I know that doesn't count. So in a sense, the Lego episode is the last, most recent episode that I've seen, at least on TV. Because I remember when I did 31 Wild Halloween Review Nights, I talked about Treehouse of Horror, because it's just become a staple of the Halloween season. So I wanted to talk about a few Halloween episodes of The Simpsons. So I believe I watched the first Treehouse of Horror, I watched my favorite Treehouse of Horror, and then I think I watched, at the time, the most recent Treehouse of Horror. So that, in a sense, may have been the most recent episode of The Simpsons that I've seen in years. I saw the Simpsons movie. Just wanted to add that in also. I liked it. It was good. And now let's talk about Christmas, because it's December. I picked these 3 episodes for the reasons that I've already said, either because they are my favorite, or in Skinner's Sense of Snow. That one because it has always just kind of stuck with me, which is really interesting because Skinner's Sense of Snow isn't... I mean, it is a Christmas special, but you could argue it's not. There's really not a lot about it that screams a Christmas special. There are moments where you could see it would fit with being a Christmas special, because it does take place the day before Christmas break, but there aren't really any Christmas decorations anywhere. There's a few in the school, but the Simpsons aren't decorated for Christmas at their house. There are no Christmas decorations outside anywhere. You can argue that this is just a traditional winter special, but they do make it very clear that this is right before Christmas break, so in that sense, it does technically mean it's a Christmas episode. And that episode in particular, I've seen a number of times. I don't know why when I was growing up, that seemed to have been the one Christmas special I always came across. And for years I went without seeing it, but I've always just remembered an episode where the kids were snowed in at school days before they were to go on Christmas break. And it was both very entertaining to watch, while at the same time very horrifying. And I say horrifying because I think that is every child's nightmare, to get locked into a school and not have any way to get out. I always wondered what would happen if I got snowed in at my school. It would have never happened because it rarely ever snowed before Christmas break. That episode on its own was a very interesting one. I feel it did a very good job representing what the kid's mind is like when it comes to them panicking and not wanting to be in school anymore, and then being forced to stay at school because you can't go anywhere else. And then later in the episode where the kids rebel against Skinner, like, it makes sense. A lot of it is very believable that this would happen, at least in the Simpsons world. The beginning of the episode starts off with the circus also. That's one thing about The Simpsons that has always just stuck out to me. Like, the episode would always start off with something that has nothing to do with what the main plot is. The main plot wouldn't really start until the first commercial break. They usually use that beginning to just set the story up. The subplot with Homer and Flanders, I mean, that was alright. It's just Homer and Flanders driving through the snow to save the kids, and then the car hits a fire hydrant, ice gets on the car, now they're stuck. You know, typical Homer shenanigans. For a while, I never understood the snow plowing reference that Ned brought up. Homer's wearing a Mr. Plow jacket throughout the episode, and it wasn't until I had done a little research where I did look up to see that an earlier episode had Homer being part of his own, like, snow plowing company, and that's where the jacket came from. I didn't see that one, but that was pretty clever, and the fact that Homer has no recollection that that ever happened, it was pretty funny. Some other bits from that particular special I like. I found it very funny when Homer went to go make a snow angel and he gets back up to see he made a snow devil. Why does this always happen? I like the bike. I like how the bike, as one of the kids tries to leave the school, the bike ends up bouncing onto each table. Just something about that made me laugh. The permanent record bit also was very funny. No other comment. I just found that funny. We kind of jumped right into the second episode. I really should have started off with the first one, which is actually the first episode of the series, like I already mentioned. Very interesting that this was the first episode of the show. I wonder if that was always intended, or if there was always supposed to be a Simpsons Christmas special and it just happened to be the first episode of the show because it was going to become its own show. I never really looked into it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the whole reason why the Christmas episode is the first episode of the show. Very interesting to watch that episode and then think back to what The Simpsons is now. There is a lot different. The feeling of the episode as well, like it's a very different feel to how The Simpsons are now. From memory, the characters aren't written to just be their one-note character traits that they have now, essentially. And this isn't even referring to Simpsons now. This has been Simpsons since, like, around the time I stopped watching it, around the time the Family Guy crossover happened. Homer was not so much of an idiot back then. He actually had a few morals. I think this episode definitely showed it with him getting a job as a mall Santa, realizing, hey, I'm in a bit of a pickle here. If I get extra money, then maybe we can make this work. We can get you kids gifts. So it's definitely interesting to watch the early episodes of The Simpsons because it does feel very different. As for a Christmas special, it did a very good job telling a Christmas story. I could see this episode being the staple Christmas episode a lot of people would go back to. I'm sure everybody has their favorite Simpsons Christmas special. For me, personally, this is one of my favorites. It doesn't have anything to do with it being the first Simpsons episode or even being an early one. There's just something about it that is very wholesome and very festive about the story. One of my absolute favorite bits of this episode, though, is Lisa defending Homer when one of Marge's sisters, I don't remember which one it was, she was making a comment about Homer, how he's a deadbeat dad. Lisa's like, I wish you wouldn't talk about my dad that way, and she just went on about all these things, and then the sister, she's just like, watch the cartoon. Something about that was very funny to me. I like the first episode. I like the first Christmas special. It's very wholesome and very fun to watch. Finally, we have Holidays of Future Past. This is one of those episodes that takes place in the future. I know this is not the only Simpsons future episode that we've gotten, but I just find these episodes to be very interesting. Very rarely does the continuity with The Simpsons add up, and I know there are other future episodes that do probably contradict each other, maybe even with couch gags, because I know there's a couch gag that shows the next couple of years with these characters. Something about this episode I just really like. I like how they portray the future as not being completely futuristic, but it's more of a realistic future. There are things that, you know, who knows if we're going to have those when it's 2040. You know, if this episode aired around 2011 and it's 30 years in the future, we could assume it's 2040, 2041. So there are some futuristic things like teleportation and the little Star Wars TV thing that we see at the very beginning with Bart watching Itchy and Scratchy. The fact that we can hear thoughts, or we can insert the internet into our neck. We just plug it in and then we're connected to the internet. You know, there's that stuff, but at the same time, it's still a realistic future to where houses still look the same. Some cities have been run down. They haven't been taken over by futuristic technology that much. They still have planes, although teleporting is the new way of traveling. They still have planes as an option. I think the funniest thing is untangling the lights, the comment that Bart makes. You know, we have all this technology and yet we're still trying to untangle lights. Even that itself has, I guess, already been outdated because you can get trees that have lights on them now. But I like watching those kind of episodes, seeing what their vision of the future is like. And that's saying a lot with The Simpsons because they are known to predict things that will happen in the future. They've already predicted a good amount of things, so I would not be surprised if in the next couple of years, when we get up to these time periods that they present in the show, it'd be really interesting to see if anything that they've predicted has actually come true. I highly doubt we'll ever be able to connect to the internet with our brains or even by injecting something in our neck. I personally wouldn't do that. With it being a Christmas special, I mean, like, it didn't need to be a Christmas special, it just so happened to be one. There really isn't anything super festive about it, but I guess if you were to argue something Christmas related to it, I guess the family element would be what is represented the most, because family is a big thing around the holidays, so getting together the family for the holidays and really looking to see if you're a good parent, yeah, sure, why not? That could fit in the Christmas spirit of things. Two other moments that I found very humorous in this episode. I'm a Doctor Who guy, if you know me, and there's a bit where they cut to Maggie in London. That's where she's given birth because Maggie's a rock star now. But they do a quick shot of the London streets, and you can see that the guards, the cops in London are just Daleks with hats. Like, I mean, like, they look different, but you can easily tell they're Daleks. I found that very funny, and that was a great reference. The other bit that I found really funny was Maud's appearance. Flanders peeks through the window and brings up how, you know, he's gotten used to being around his old wife's ghost because Flanders' wife died in an early Simpsons episode caused by Homer. And there's the bit where she appears in ghost form and she's like, "There's no heaven. There's no afterlife. God is a lie. It's just dark. There's nothing." And Flanders, he's just like, "She's a kidder, isn't she?" And I found that very funny. If you know The Simpsons, you'll understand why that's a funny joke. I know there's a bunch of other Christmas episodes that I could have easily talked about. I know The Simpsons did their version of the birth of Jesus. I remember seeing this episode live. I don't remember the main context of the episode, but it ended with Katy Perry and all the Simpsons being puppets. That one I could have easily also talked about also, because that's an interesting one that's lived in my brain for a while. But it was these three episodes that I felt like talking about the most, because, I don't know, I just like them a little bit better. But with that, that's what I gotta say about The Simpsons as a show, and also with the holiday episodes I have presented to you. And for that, we have completed day 20. Kind of makes me sound like that I'm doing this to unlock something, right? Like, I've completed the level, on to the next one, and then we'll get the treasure. There's no treasure. I guess the treasure is Christmas. We get to celebrate Christmas. That's all I gotta say about The Simpsons. Let me know what you think about The Simpsons. I know a lot of people have a bit of a thought when it comes to that show. Like, they have their own opinion that, oh, seasons whatever to whatever was great and now it's all trash. I would love to know your thoughts on that. I don't really have many thoughts about it because I haven't seen the show in such a long time, but the episodes I do remember seeing, I really enjoyed. Again, I'm a big couch gag person, so that's really the main thing I go to when I see The Simpsons, and for the most part, some of them have been creative. Some of them, I think they're getting a little carried away with the couch gags for the later ones I've seen, but I haven't seen a full-length episode in years, so I'd be very interested to know what you think about the show nowadays. Also, what's your favorite Christmas special? What's your favorite Homer Christmas special? I'd love to hear those thoughts down there in the little comment section. Give me a comment. Also, if you want, you could like this video. It's whatever. You don't have to. I'm not telling you what to do, but you can if you want. With all that said, let's move right along, leaving Springfield and heading on down to Rhode Island, because we're going to talk about Family Guy next. I felt that was a great transition, and we're going to leave it at that. Thanks for watching The Wild Review on The Wild Review, and you just saw me review a thing.